Hi everybody, it's Laura Kingen. It's 1:30, ready to go for 1:30? A little late, bear with me. We can just work between 1 and 1:30, that's what I'm aiming for. Offering these free live demos. I'd like to continue to do this on Wednesdays. I am a little tired today, so I'm just going a little slower, although it seems like what the energy is these days is to kind of go slow. But in anticipation of today and what I wanted to present, I'd just like to confirm that I'd like to continue these Wednesdays about 1:30. None of us are perfect. Timeline is one of mine, but I do hope that I can offer you all some things that you all would benefit from. And we'll keep these going on Wednesdays at, during that 1:30. And what I thought I would do today, though, is go back and start really more from the beginning and talk about the introduction to sensory integration and sensory processing disorders, or sensory processing therapy, sensory processing strategies, sensory processing issues. There's different terms for this area that I want to talk about. But before I get into that, I want to show you my business card. One of these days, I've promised I'll figure out how to make this in reverse so that you can see it, like without it being in reverse. Anyway, but my business is Sensory Solutions, Inc. I can be found on Facebook at SSI-FB, also SSI Sensory Laura, and that's more specific to the sensory issues, where the SSI FB page is more general, and I put links and different kinds of things. My phone number is area code 631-848-8852. So you can text me and call me. PM on Facebook is really good because I am available for individual sessions and for treatment, whether it's a group or individual. I'm also available to work with schools and agencies and people with special education needs. Anyway, I can go on about that, but let's get a little more focused today. Like I said, I wanted to talk about what is sensory integration. Talk about an introduction today. I'm going to show you a book and a chart that's been kind of like my guide. And I thought next week what I would do is I'll take several of these concepts and then each week focus on that particular concept. So again, over time, there should be a layering. And each time you should at least get a concept or concepts and then some treatment ideas and ideas for home use. Next week, what I'd like to do is talk about proprioception. And then the next week after that, I'll talk about vestibular or movement. Because then after that, I'd like to get into ball handling skills. I'm looking forward to sharing that session with you. Which reminds me, I forgot to grab that ball. I'd like that today. And so we can go from there. But I definitely would like to not only present concepts, but give you some treatment ideas of what you can do at home. So let's get going. To date myself, I came out to Phoenix, Arizona in the early 80s and worked with Lorna Jean King, one of the big theorists early on with the theory of sensory integration. And I was introduced to this book again, got to work on this reverse stuff, but Sensory Integration and the Child by by Jean Ayres. It's really interesting. I just want to do a shout out. It was a couple weeks ago. There was a 50th anniversary party for Jean Ayres online, and it's been years since I've been with colleagues, and it was really, really nice. Some of the benefits of these times. So it just like kind of reconnected, and it was really nice. But in this book, on page 60, again, I apologize. I've got a mirror, but it's my clinic. I don't have it here at home where I could have done this and put it in reverse. I thought of it. But I want to explain this graph a little bit. It's going to be really kind of hard with it backwards, but let's try it. In a nutshell, this is kind of like, how do I want to say? I want to say like my Bible, or almost my major guide in how I approach sensory integration. So over here are some very basic types of sensory integration. When I jumped way ahead and talked about self-regulation, I was referring to some of these different kinds of senses. Excuse me. But when we talk about sensory integration, and why do we even talk about it? Because we're coming from a developmental, let's be even more specific, a neurodevelopmental perspective. That as, even in utero, but when a baby is born, we use our senses, and it's those basic senses that gives us information of which to build our foundation on to grow. So this graph actually includes several senses in addition to like our basic 5 senses, but it talks about vestibular. It's our sense of movement. This specifically says our relationship to gravity and movement. So, I realized last time I say so a lot. I'll work on that. Some different types of movement. I just want to very briefly introduce this to you. So we can go forward and backwards. We can go side to side. We can go up and down. And we can go rotational. And there are actual neurological, brain anatomical structures that process movement. So it's physical. There are physical structures, the anatomy, there are structures, and then the physiology helps us to do and make sense of these kinds of movements as a human being. It's a really important concept, and I will refer to that throughout whatever I do. Really important to show you those different movements, different planes of movement. Proprioception, muscles and joints. I apologize. I'm going to go grab that exercise ball. Hang in there, everybody. I'm coming. And OT is never very far from exercise balls. Now you guys can just barely see that. Proprioception. It's information, basic sensory information that comes through our muscles and joints. So I'm sitting on the ball and I'm bouncing. My body is responding to this. My muscles are feeling something. That's what I'm referring to as proprioception. I'll refer to that quite a lot too. So, according to this graph, see this right here, vestibular and proprioception. Those two kinds of senses, according to Lorna, Jean Ayers, I got Lorna Jean King on the brain, helps us to organize, gives us a sense of muscle tone, of balance, of gravitational security. I mean, do you guys know of any kids that are afraid of heights? Some kids that really don't like to go to the playground, get on the swing or the jungle gym. They just, what about, I mean, I've worked with kids who have problems stepping up onto the school bus, the steps onto the school bus. That might be a sign that you might want to refer them to an occupational therapist for some evaluation, because if they're having trouble with some of that, they might be having trouble with some other things. And again, with the way school is these days and the way we're structuring that, is it an issue? If they're not on the playground, they still may have the issues, and there may be other implications as well. Because this chart, I mean, we're still talking very, very basic information. Eye movements, just being able to track and move, you see my eyes. Like, it's one reason why I work with ball skills a lot. It's to work on the eye muscles and the way the eyes are functioning with the rest of the body. I was educated using the term eye-hand coordination. Today, I think the more acceptable term is visual motor. But how many of you know what motor means? I mean, they're interchangeable terms, and I'll use both terms. But very basically, it's like our eyes get information, tells our brain something, and then tells our hand to reach and then grab the ball. It's a process. But if we have some neurological issues, there's some anatomical problems or disease or an injury, it could interfere with that process. Or if the physiology is yet to really fully mature, it can interfere with the process. And that could be a reason why you would refer someone to an occupational therapist. So posture is another one up here, being able to stay upright, especially while I'm talking and looking. You know, can I hold my body upright? Most of us as adults can, but how many steps along the way, for some people, hey Rex, for some people, there could be a multitude of issues that are interrupting the process. So going back to this graph, so we've got vestibular movement, proprioception. Same time we've got tactile, sense of touch. And as very basic infantile development, working on sucking and eating. Just comfort from tactile touch. And that mother-child bond. I mean, there is something about a mother holding a baby. I mean, the way God intended it, nature intended it. There is a natural touch. There's a natural proprioceptive comfort. You know, I work with a lot of Native Americans. Some of you are maybe even watching. There is something about swaddling a baby. You know, I've worked in schools where mothers bring their babies in a cradle board, wrapped up tightly. It's a beautiful thing. There's something very comforting about being swaddled. If it's too tight, it's, you know, it could be abusive, you know, but done right, it can be very comforting. So we have basic touch. We've got our basic vision. And that's being able to, I mean, I refer to tracking, and that's more the muscles of just being able to have the function of being able to move, but then to be able to make sense of what you're seeing. And to me, that's starting to get into more like visual perception and acuity and using that information. And then we also have auditory up here. So we're covering some of the basic senses. And as they evolve and develop, we start to develop these other skills. So as these skills start to develop, we'll bring in the vestibular, the proprioceptive, and the tactile. And those, according to Jean Ayres in this chart, help us to develop skills like body precept, coordinating the two sides of the body, motor planning, attention span, even, she's got on here, even emotional stability. That these basic senses, you know, have an organizing perspective on our development, thusly sensory integration. What we're trying to do is integrate our senses to help us develop. Pulling in that neurodevelopmental perspective, I had shared with you, I think it was my first video about the developmental sequence going from prone to quadruped, or to sitting to quadruped to standing. Some basic movement patterns that are evolving through here. And so as we develop these areas, then add in the visual, we get things like eye-hand coordination, visual perception, purposeful activity. Up here with the auditory is the speech and language skills. And down and over here, kind of like the ultimate goal of organization, ability to concentrate, organize, having a sense of self-esteem, self-control, self-confidence, academic learning ability. Academic learning ability is way over here after all of these things have a sense of integration, unconscious integration within the body. I mean, obviously, these are so basic, and they build and build and build to get to this point. Do you need language skills in order to coordinate the two sides of your body? Mm-hmm. I have nonverbal kids that can coordinate the two sides of their body. Coordinating the two sides of the body is actually a really hard skill. And so that's kind of the segue into the next section of what I want to share with you. Maybe I should not put this away. Because what I'd like to do is take this and apply a treatment activity. And I want to address some of these different areas. Like I did last time, we picked kind of like a case study of a couple different issues and addressed it through an obstacle course. So thought I would work on that same concept. So let's do that. See, there I go with so again. Bring you guys down. Bear with me. Part of why I want to do this is I want to show you guys all just how I work, and how I've alluded to before is each day is its own day. And like I said, today I'm a little tired. So just going to go a little slower. Let's bring you guys in closer. Rex, you get to see me in action. So, the way I would start a treatment session, I'm going to refer back to my self-regulation session where, and you'll see each session that I do, I'm going to follow the same kind of pattern. Start out, I may talk a little bit, and we're going to build the energy. I'll start introducing things, and you'll feel the escalation in the session. We're starting to move into that now. And we're going to build purposefully. I want people in my treatment sessions to laugh and have fun and kind of feel big and test their waters and have some confidence and try things and feel good. And then we're going to bring it back down, calm down, and then we'll finish. But typically, because tactile is so basic, I want to make sure I'm going to start, when I'm taking a sensory integrative perspective, I want to start with these basic and make sure that my treatment session, based on my evaluation and my goals for that particular client, I think I just got mixed up in my words. When I plan a treatment session, I am referring to my evaluation and the goals for that particular client. And meaning that it's a sensory integrative oriented session or sensory processing oriented session. I want to make sure these basic senses are included before I even consider these higher level. To me, the art of therapy is how much you can get into one session. The art is how much of the performance components, the different issues that my client is having, how many of those issues can I address in one time? And so I want to layer an activity for you today. So we're going to start out here, and then we'll start adding these different components so that you can see how each one of these components are involved in the treatment session to the point where it should be organizing. The person should have a sense of confidence, like I just alluded to. They should feel good about what they're doing. And so by the end of the session, there should be, my business is offering strategies to reach wholeness. So hopefully by the end of my sessions, even these live demos, that there's a sense of wholeness that you can feel as you walk away from this. So usually I'll start my session with some kind of simple tactile brushing program. A lot of you who know about sensory processing are probably familiar with brushing. You may not know exactly what it is. I have done another video about this. It wasn't a live one though. It was actually at my clinic. So usually how we start our sessions is we do some brushing. And so it's like just to wake up the body, get it going. I like to start distal to proximal. Start from the far away part of the body and work towards the body. And what I've discovered over time is there's something called our lymph system. And the lymph system is what carries toxins and releases the toxins in our body. Heaven knows there's a lot of pollution in our world right now. And what does our bodies do to get rid of that or not? And that's a whole subject in and of itself. But it's our lymph system. And one of the ways we stimulate our lymph system is by applying a little bit of pressure. I'm not pushing really hard, but you can see with the brush. And so I'm brushing up. So another reason why I want to go this way is because we're trying to facilitate that lymph system along with trying to wake up that tactile system. So it's several different things we're doing at once. So when I'm working with a client, usually I'll have a basket of a variety of different kinds of tactile-oriented items. And you do this, I would encourage you to get a variety. These are things I've accumulated over time. Some people need really hard, bristled brushes. Some people can't handle, they need it like soft, like this is a soft brush. And then there's the continuum in between of really hard and really soft. What we're trying to do is wake up the system, kind of tell the brain, hey, we're gonna go do something. Let's wake up, let's get going. I would recommend something like this in the morning. I wouldn't do this at night because this is about waking the body up. We want to calm the body down. So we'll talk more about calming the body down when we get to the regulation, self-regulation part at the end of our sessions. But the beginning, tactile. I could go on and on about this. I've been doing this for 35 years. But anyway, this is how we start. So let's put this away. Now let's get going. So I want to just do an obstacle course to kind of illustrate some of these basic concepts. Like, for example, I mentioned vestibular, I mentioned movement. Let's do an obstacle course that incorporates some movement. Remember I said there's some different planes? Let's go forward and back. Forward and back. This alone is going to work on a lot of things like balance. If I do this, it's working on coordinating the two sides of the body, because both sides of the body are doing the same thing. Yes, I am being conscientious of my tongue. But this kind of thing, like I alluded to in another video, this is also doing some weight bearing on the upper extremities to help build some stability there too. So we're going to incorporate in this obstacle course some movement, some weight bearing, which would help support fine motor function. Let's incorporate some other things. So let's say, for example, the client I'm working with has some balance issues and some fine motor handwriting issues, eating as well. I encourage you all to use things that you find around your house. So instead of, is there anything official that it has to be a particular basketball hoop? No. Be creative. And let your child or ward or whoever you're wanting to do these with, be creative. Let's use something like this. So I'm going to place this, I'll probably place this out of sight of the camera, but the idea is to throw it in. So I'm using these different objects. This one, it's got a squeeze. So this is relating to proprioception for the fine motor function. Fine motor, small muscles, gross motor, large muscles. So instead of me working with a client, sitting at a table, doing handwriting, doing handouts, I'm sorry. In 35 years of being OT, yes, I've done some handouts, but like I was alluding to before, the art of therapy is how much I can incorporate into an activity to address, to be most efficient. So I may do a very thorough hand grasp evaluation, knowing which muscles are weaker, which grasp are weaker. That's part of the evaluation, is to figure that out. Maybe just be more general. It's part of my treatment planning strategy, relating it back to the evaluation, what the issues are. So let's say, for example, this particular client has a lot of, they're functioning at a pretty low level. I want them to feel a good amount of success. Not 100%. Not 100%, well, I mean, that's poor. Forgive me for saying that. I want everybody to feel success by the time they're all done. But there's a continuum between, if you're successful all the time, what's the challenge? There should be like a healthy challenge. We should be successful most of the time. You know, maybe, you know, where do we miss, and where's that gray area between a good amount of success? And then as a therapist, I want to kind of push it along. So if this person, for example, is successful 90% of the time of throwing something in here, there's different ways I can grade that, just to make it a little challenging to build those skills. I may put it a little farther away. So now this time, their eyes need to perceive, oh, it's that much farther, so I need to tell my body, I need to push a little farther. Maybe my client is higher functioning, and they can handle a target that's smaller. Same idea, just a little different variation. See, the hand grasp on this is different. This has got more of a pincer grasp, it's finer. The cones, much smaller target area than something like this. So as a therapist, I need to decide what is going to be the just right challenge for my client. That's really the best way to say it. Again, I like to be really creative with my stuff instead of having just like one size ball. I like to have variety. These incorporate proprioception. It's that squeeze. So especially for, say, somebody who's got like Down syndrome, classic condition that where somebody would have like low muscle tone. Down syndrome kids are so much fun. But they have low muscle tone, so we want to build that up. And one of the ways I like to do it is through proprioceptive activities. Activities that stimulate the muscles in the joints. So you see what I'm doing right here? There's a sense of proprioception with that. With this, there's also a sense of proprioception. And I like having different shapes. So while there is some proprioception with this, it's different. It's not, doesn't squeeze like this does. And this has got the vision, and there's a sense of that wiggly, there's a sense of tactile. So if somebody's really ticklish, how many people do you know who's really ticklish, like excessively so? There's actually a term called tactile defensiveness. It's actually pretty common. So a ball like this, like somebody may play with this, but they're not going to play with this. It's subtle, but it's profoundly different, really. Okay, so now I have two things in my office, of course. I've got the ball, and I've got my visual motor basket. Let's put it over here. Again, that's out of the camera. So I just want to reorient. We're trying to build an activity to demonstrate this chart. So we've got some proprioception, we've got some movement, we've got bilateral motor coordination, we've got some visual motor. What else? Let's just add in organization, and we'll wrap it up that way. Again, thinking about what's in your home. And I thought about this as like my start. And then I realized, ooh, we could slip. So safety is really, be careful of safety issues. Is this really the safest thing for me to use to stand on? I don't think so. I could slip and fall, hit my head, you know, on the things that are in the room that I'm unable to move. So be careful. So let's not use this. We'll play with this. I thought of this idea as I was putting this together, and I think this will be fun. We'll see if we can do it. Let's use, let's see. Let's make this like a 4-step obstacle course. Here's another toy. Let's put it like that. Okay. So, this obstacle course is going to work on offering some very basic sensory information. Keeping in mind things like the wind, the sounds can be distracting. It just distracted me. You may want that, you may not want that, but to at least acknowledge that those things can contribute to somebody's attention span. So we're going to refocus. We're going to work on a 4-step obstacle course. We're going to offer some very basic sensory information, including vestibular and proprioceptive input. We're going to work on coordinating the 2 sides of the body. Visual motor, I know I'm just kind of repeating myself here. With the idea of the person, by the time that they finish this, should have a sense of self. There should be a sense of wholeness. There should be some organization, a sense of confidence. We were addressing balance, fine motor skills, organization, and attention span. Okay? So, we're going to do this 3 times. We're going to step over. We're going to get on the ball. We're going to go through the hula hoop. We're going to reach, oh, hold on. We're going to reach over here, throw an object in, hit the toy, go backwards, step over, and that's 1 time. So that's actually a lot of steps. That's really more than 4 steps. Can you see where this could work on organizing? Let's do it again. We're going to step over. We're going to go through the hula hoop on the ball, grab an object, throw it in, hit that, come back out. One of the reasons why I wanted to include this part to illustrate body awareness and motor planning. Motor planning is a hard one. This is one of the ways I would address it. Let's do this obstacle course one more time. We're going to step over, get on the ball, go through the hula hoop, grab an object, throw it in, hit it. Come back out, step out, ta-da! We did it. One thing I do want to point out is when I did this and hit it, I'm crossing midline. Our bodies work symmetrically before asymmetrical. So, Doing this, both sides of the body are doing the same thing. Holding like a box. Both sides of the body are doing the same thing. But higher level skills incorporate either side of the body doing something different than the other. My classic example is blow drying your hair. Not that I've done that in a long time. One hand is holding the brush, the other arm is moving. You need to have good coordination between two sides of the body, firmly established, before you can start doing asymmetrical, different kinds of things. Sweeping. I'll demonstrate that while I'm on the ball. But sweeping. Or what about hitting a ball with a bat? You have to cross the midline of your body, both sides of your body working together. Just move across the midline of your body. That's actually a high-level skill. So this obstacle course is addressing a lot of these different concepts here. So by the time somebody's finished with this treatment session, hopefully they're feeling a good sense of self. The final piece I really want to do, first of all, we have to clean up, but then we're going to do a little quiet time, and then we'll finish this session. So I hope in the meantime, kind of reiterating some of the same basic concepts for some repetition. So we clean up, then we go to quiet time. And I thought for today, I'm going to do quiet time differently. We're going to take, I don't know, a minute maybe? And the idea is just to give you guys some different ideas. See, I don't think this is going to be big enough for me. There's something about wrapping up in a blanket, and it does provide some neutral warmth around the whole body. I am more of a deep pressure, proprioceptive kind of a person, that deep pressure is more calming for me, like a massage. For most people, that's true. There's a few people that like the light touch for calming, but most people don't. Most people, a light touch is very excitatory and is alerting. So I would definitely recommend, if you're wanting to do some calming, use more of a deep pressure than a light touch. And those are some of the things I want to get into with the tactile session that I do with you all. But there's other people that like the rocking, and I've alluded to that. So you need to decide which way you want to go. I'm going to go with more deep pressure today, but maybe some of you might want to sit in a rocking chair and rock back and forth. If you have a hammock, you know, sometimes just rocking yourself. But the idea is to try to let your body be as still as possible so that you can do as little movement, little of the work yourself. So I'm going to get comfortable. Sometimes it takes a little wiggling. That's okay. And sometimes often I'll put music on, some rather than rap or really loud, like kind of music, even disorienting kind of music. Be very specific. Calm, gentle, rhythmically oriented music. So let's do this. Let's take a deep breath in. Slowly let it go. Taking another deep breath. Slowly let it go. Let's do another one. Another deep breath in. Slowly let it go. And as I'm taking these deep breaths in, I can hear and feel the wind. And I I can hear the clock. Tick, tick, tick. I'm just going to tune into that. And breathe. And I can hear wind chimes. And I can feel that it's a lovely day outside. Deep breath in. Slowly let it go. And know that it's important to move, get in touch with our bodies, to learn and to grow, and to then also calm down and rest in the comfort of this life. Taking a deep breath in, letting it go. You may have different thoughts or feelings come up. Just reorient your focus back to your breath. In and out. And know how important it is to get into a calm place like this, even for a few minutes, moments out of our day, that we can recenter and ground and reconnect and let go and trust in our inner sense of self that's connected with the earth and all that is around us. Let's take another deep breath in, letting it go. Now slowly count from 10 down to 1, and we'll finish up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, taking a deep breath in and out. 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly wiggle your fingers and your toes. Open your eyes. Refocus. Go ahead and clean up. Keeping in mind, I'm available for consult for individual evaluations. The joys of working in a household, right? My phone number is area code 631-848-8852. You can PM me on Facebook. Please join us again for more of our free live demos on Facebook. Let me know if you have particular topics you're interested in. I hope you all have a blessed afternoon. Thank you for joining us.